Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the Success Stories podcast. We are your hosts, Harshit, Arnav, and Ken, and we couldn't be more excited to kick off this journey with all of you. Here on these Success Stories, we dive deep into the lives and journeys of some of the most successful and inspiring individuals around. We'll be uncovering their challenges, their triumphs, and the invaluable lessons they've learned along the way. For our very first episode, we have an incredibly special guest who embodies the spirit of innovation and resilience. He's a visionary entrepreneur who's made waves in this world of social media technology. Please join me in the welcoming of Mr. Yash Sakhlecha, the co-founder of WYLD, a groundbreaking social media card company that you might have seen on Shark Tank India. So, Yash Bhaiya, it's an absolute honor to have you here with us today. Thank you for joining us on the Success Stories. Okay. For the audience sitting at home, can you tell a little about what social credit company is and what social currency is? And I think for this, the co-founder of WYLD would be the best person. So, off to you, Bhaiya.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Harshit. Thank you for the introduction. Right, so basically, the core fundamental reason behind which how we started this company is we truly believe that all of us have a circle of influence, right? We might not be someone very famous or very well known or something like that. We might not be celebrities, but for our immediate family, our immediate friend circle, we sort of have a good influence on them, right? We all have friends, families, colleagues, other people at school, office. And if you end up recommending a restaurant to them or telling them that, hey, this is a good place, right? You do end up influencing them, right? And this is basically your social currency. In today's day and age, all of us are sort of getting more and more digitally connected. Right, we are all connected via either Instagram, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, name it, right? We're all getting more and more digitally connected. And earlier we had our own individual personal lives, but now everyone has a digital persona of their personal life as well, right? And a measure of that is basically your social currency.
All right, so as a curious person myself, I was just wondering. So I went onto your WYLD website the other day and I saw that it says marketing that's infinitely scalable. So that really caught my eye, and I was genuinely attracted to what that means, because it's a very it's very different than what usual companies say, right? So I just like to ask you what exactly that implies or what that means with reference to WYLD.
So our value proposition. So just before we dive into that, right? I'll just quickly explain for everyone so what WYLD is, how basically we work. So our funda is very simple. For companies or for brands, consumer brands, we turn their customers into marketeers, right? So how it works is that WYLD is a Visa-powered payment card. Works similar to your debit credit card. You can use it anywhere. But if you end up using it with any of our partner brands, let's say you're going out, to a restaurant for dinner, or you're going for a movie, buying anything online, just pay with the WYLD card, right? And once you pay with the WYLD card, you can post about whatever experience you're having on Instagram. Tag the brand, and for doing that you get a certain percentage of cash back on your purchase, right? So let's say if you spend $2,000 at a dinner, and you end up you anyways post a story, right? When you're out for dinner with your friends, you anyways end up posting a story.
Yeah.
You just tag the restaurant where you were at, and for that we'll give you anywhere between 30 to 100% cash back, right? And okay. That's the model in a nutshell, where customers get insane rewards and brands get marketing via their customers. So answering your question right now, basically our value proposition for brands is very simple, right? So for any brand out there, if all their customers start talking about the brand with their friends, with their family online, the brand literally won't need any other kind of marketing, right? And that's how powerful WYLD is in simple terms.
All right, so I think that's answered my question pretty much. But I have a follow-up. So, you said that you give cashback rates between anywhere between 30% to 100%, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, how do you determine these cashback rates? How do you give either 30%, 60%, or 100%? So how do you determine those?
So, have you heard about this about credit scores? So, how when you
Yeah.
apply for a credit card, right? Basically, there are bureaus like CIBIL and a few other bureaus where basically they calculate your credit score and check how credit worthy you are. In a similar fashion,
Okay,
we've built our own social scoring algorithm called the WYLD score that
Yeah.
on multiple factors, it gauges how powerful your circle of influence is, right? And let's face it, right? In today's day and age, just someone's follow count is not a good enough measure of someone's influence. It's very easy to buy fake followers, right?
Yeah.
And we've made a sort of a smart algorithm that based on multiple different factors like your reach, the engagement, how frequently you post, the quality of your influence, etc., etc., and definitely your follow count also comes up with a score where we basically try and determine the kind of influence you have.
You told us quite about the parameters of how you give those discounts and cashbacks. So my question is, what is the future for a product like WYLD? Is it possible that you may see several social currency cards appearing in the Indian market in the future? Because we have seen this, right? When good companies go to Shark Tank and a lot of investors want to invest in them. So what I've seen is that some other companies also replicate them and try to copy them.
Right. So Harshit, basically what happens, right, is when you are in a very competitive space and there's limited market share and big competitors trying to sort of like you and you don't have a very defensible product or something like that, you sort of start losing market share very quickly, right? In WYLD's scenario right now, what's happening is that we feel that we are building a new market, right? Till now, the customer-led marketing, every day, like till now, celebrities and influencers are people who've sort of gotten benefit out of their influence, right? But people like you and me have not gotten, for us, our Instagram's not really that valuable today, right? You don't really get much value out of it. So for us, what we believe is that we are building this entire new vertical and this category, right? And for us, the more the competition, the more people who are there building it together with us, the better it is, right? It is very difficult to build a new vertical and industry by yourself. But when you have 2-3 players working on it together, I think you grow together, right? And competition makes you better. So that's the way we look at it, honestly, right? More than happy for people to sort of join in and do it together, right? Because once this sort of becomes big, before Instagram started, right? Instagram was earlier envisaged to be just a photo sharing app. And later on, we see what it is today, right? Like the founder himself could not imagine what it could become later on, right? And whenever you're trying to create something new and different, right, where the world is not ready for it, or it's yet it's an industry or category that's getting built, you don't know how it will shape up, right? But the simple fact that we were discussing earlier as well, that just the pace at which the world is getting more and more digitally connected, all of us are having a digital persona and digital identity today. The future where a lot of things that you do, right, is going to depend on who you are as well, is the future that we are heading to, right? And it's just going to be a very, very massive industry, right? So more than happy for people to sort of build it together. And I think you being one of the early movers in it and all of that, you'll definitely get that advantage, right? So it's a big market, and so competition at this stage does not really worry us, but we sort of love it when people believe in the same concept and are trying to do similar things.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
All right, Yash. So, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sure. I'm saying that if that makes sense to you guys. If there are any questions, happy to chat.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. So now that we're at the subject of your industry and exactly the WYLD industry and how you see other competitors, whether they come into the market or not. I'd just like to ask you what you think are some of your industry's biggest challenges and how you address them. Because you're into such a niche subject where, nothing like this has ever been seen before. Or even if it hasn't been popularized like the way you have popularized it. So so what's your industry's biggest challenges is my question to you.
So from a brand's perspective, right, today, if you consider any consumer brand, right, and if you guys also think of starting a business of your own, uh, the the marketing avenues that you guys have, any brand has, is very very limited, right? You can either run ads on platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Google, the big giants. You could do influencer marketing, and that's about it, right? On digital aspects, there are very limited avenues that you can advertise or grow your brand by. And that's where we believe Wild will be the new vertical of marketing, which is a customer led marketing, right? And that is and anytime if you see, right, in the past also what's happened with marketing in general is so earlier you had your TV hoardings, etc., etc., and then after that on websites you had these side banners where you could click on it and it took you to various pages and all of that. But right now when we see that, we sort of tend to just completely ignore it, right? Then you had these mobile ads, and then you had these YouTube ads. Right now YouTube ads are there, but you can't wait to press skip before, even those 4-5 seconds get done, right? And that's just how advertisement evolves, right? There's a new new marketing vertical that comes up. It grows, it saturated plateaus because there's so many people trying to grab the attention of a very limited consumer base, right? So that's why we are very very excited about Wild, because the market size is very big. We literally see each person becoming a marketeer and turning into something very very massive.
Got you. All right. So I think right now we'll be taking a little short break from Wild, and I just want to know a little more about your background and personal journey. So Yash, you've clearly accomplished a lot, appearing on Shark Tank India Season 3, founding the innovative startup Wild, and graduating from IIT Bombay. Can you share us a bit about your background and what has driven you to achieve so much, Just a little bit, yeah.
No, sure, man. So, I think, me, so fortunately I've been from a business, I'm from a business family. My dad's a businessman, and I'm a Marwadi, so dhanda and business khoon mein hai. So since I got into IIT, right? IIT has also been very, very, I've been fortunate because of that also, because in college, we got a lot of exposure and support, and there were a lot of activities happening on a regular basis, constant basis. Other entrepreneurs used to come, and there was just so much exposure that it really helped and pushed us in the right direction, right? So since first year of college, I've been sort of tinkering on various, different business ideas. Anytime, we used to see a problem, we used to try and think if we could create a business around it. So just during those first 4 years of college, right, I might have at least worked on like 7-8 ideas, all of which failed, right? But all the way from we are trying to build something like a remote control car, do workshops for that. Tried doing something in education, healthcare, then multiple food processing, multiple different avenues, right? So it's been an entire journey. Hey guys, can you hear me? Hey guys, I think there's a gap in the middle. I'm not sure till when did you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think yes.
Okay, but so should we address that question again, or I think it's fine.
Okay, can I ask a question? Ki, after he said something about challenges faced, right? Can I continue with my questions, because mine is about challenges.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Sure. If you guys can hear me right now, I can. I'm not sure till when did you guys hear me. If you want to repeat.
Yeah, sure. I think you can repeat back from the time where you did several startups in. I mean, you had many startup ideas in IIT itself.
So I was just saying, during IIT itself, during college, I worked on at least 7-8 different ideas. All the way from building a remote control car, doing workshops around that, education, something in healthcare, food processing, whatnot, right? Most of it didn't fail. And every time you do a startup and you fail, you look back at it and you're like, you're so stupid and you're smarter right now, right? and you hope that you can make it right now. So it's just a journey, I guess, for everyone, right? And I think it's just about trying, and one day you're prepared enough for when the opportunity actually knocks on your door, you're ready for it, right? So it's no secret mantra, it's no magical secret that one can share, but it's just an entire journey, right? You just got to keep trying throughout.
Yeah, so you've addressed that you've done so many stuff in college years as well, build a robot control car and stuff, right? So we know that WYLD is really successful. A lot of people are actively participating with the company. But I think as a youth, I think a very important question, and I feel this is very important, is can you tell us that, some of the biggest challenges you faced early in the career, so how did you overcome them? Because I think key challenges, overcoming them is very important, and that's how one can move on in the journey.
Sure, Anshul. So I'll tell you a very fun story, right? So basically, when I had met my co-founder, Dishant, and this is back around 2018-19, and he told me about this entire influencer space, right? I was actually entirely unaware about this entire influencer domain. And he ended up speaking to me about it, right? And am I audible to you guys?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Right. So, he ended up telling me about this domain, and when I was researching around that time, I realized Facebook itself is building a platform very similar to what we were building back then, right? We were building a company called Influnite, and Facebook itself was building a platform very similar to what we were doing, right? And we were just starting off. And seeing Facebook build the exact same product, I ended up going to Dishant and I'm like, dude, it is absolutely stupid what we are sort of trying to do, right? Where we are, trying to take data from Meta, from Facebook, and build a platform very similar to what they are themselves doing, right? Obviously, they will be much more successful compared to us, and why would anyone use it, right? And so this was a logical side of the brain speaking, which made absolute sense, right? You obviously, when you're starting a new venture, you should, assess your risk, rewards, and all of that. But as an entrepreneur, a lot of times you just got to be, not rational about things. You got to be cynically optimistic, and that is what Dishant did at that time, where he ended up convincing me, saying that Yash, once you've started something, right, for the next 3 years you got to give it like fair shot, right? If you've started something, you can't quit before 3 years, right? You just got to be at it, right? And somehow he convinced me to sort of just continue, and I think I found a really good co-founder with a good partner with him, and we ended up because of some certain reasons we ended up working together. But at that point, right, I think talking about challenge, you can't imagine a bigger challenge than Facebook itself building a platform like you, right? And they were actually building. But the funny part is 2 years later, 3 years later, also Facebook was never able to grow their platform in India, right? It never took off. And if we would have given up back then, we would have never achieved or pivoted or done whatever, and we would not have been here today, right? So I think the secret again is just not ever giving up, right? You got to keep trying, you got to be persistent. As entrepreneurs, you got to be cynically optimistic, and even when everything around you tells you that it might not be possible, you got to go out there and try and prove it and make it happen, right? And that is what all entrepreneurship is about.
Yeah. So one thing for the audience is, as Bhaiya said, you gotta do it, right? So as Nike says as well, just do it and never quit. So Bhaiya, one more question. As you said that you found such a good, founder, and then you worked on with him. So how important is it, according to you, to find the right people and to and networking in general?
Oh, it's absolutely one of the most important things, right? You ask any founder, and so a founder never builds the company, right? It's the team that builds the company. So, getting the right people, having the right set of people to mentor you, guide you, support you, help you is very, very important, very critical. So, honestly, we've been very, very fortunate, lucky to get a really good team, get a good set of people to sort of join us in this journey, build on it together. So it's absolutely very, very critical. It's very important that your long-term visions match, your goals align. You are able to trust each other. Your ethics and morals are sort of aligned, right? You can, while all of this needs to be aligned, your skill sets need to be very, very complementary, right? So Dishant and I, as people, we are two very, very different people, but with a similar goal, similar passion, similar ethics. So we started back in 2018-19 together. Then Rij, who's a third co-founder, joined us when we started WYLD. My sister's been working with us. So a lot of people who've been with us throughout the journey now. When we've been working together, we all have a similar goal, similar passion, and that's how you can sort of work together, right?
Yes.
Got you. So again, talking about WYLD, how WYLD was a journey that started back in 2018 or 2019, and it's been like a couple of years, several years of hard work and resilience. So could you just tell us that right now, if you were to start WYLD again, what would you do differently in that entrepreneurial mindset? What advice would you give to people if they want to start a company like WYLD again, or like starting out a company like that? Yeah.
Dude, I'm honestly we are very, very early in our journey. Although it might seem like WYLD's become very big, I would definitely like to believe that we are very early in our journey and we're just getting started. But to sort of answer your question, that if there's someone who's planning to start their own startup, and how should they think about this entire process, right, and how to go about with it. So I think the answers are pretty standard and straightforward itself, right? It's usually the stuff that you read on the internet. The answers are all out there. It's just that how dedicatedly, how sincerely you are able to implement all of that, how you're able to put in that hard work and sort of just stay persistent and consistent at it, right? I think for our entire journey, repeatedly you will keep hearing the same answer from me, that just sort of being persistent and trying to sort of make it happen, right, and not giving up. So that's just sort of been the motto, right? But otherwise, the standard answer which I told you is try and identify the right problem, try and speak to customers, try and speak to your potential users, right? Many a times we think of problems that we are facing, and it might be a very, very small problem to solve, right? It could just be a problem which is there in your mind, but in reality, because we are so desperately trying to find a new idea, find a new solution, there might just be a problem which is there in our heads and not really faced by the consumers or the users around you, and we try and build a company around that, right? So I think initially trying to have unbiased surveys with the users, trying to speak to your customers, potential customers, users, that's very, very important. Then once you have an idea, after surveys, again, it's very important that you sort of test out your thesis on a small scale, right? And that is called MVP, minimum viable product, right? Where you sort of don't end up building the entire website, you don't end up building the entire tech and all of that. You try and build a very, very simplistic product through which you can sort of test your idea or your concept, and get certain confidence around it. Because many a times if you have an idea, right, and you end up going to your family or your friends, these guys will tell you that hey, this is a great idea, right? And although they might not believe that it's a great idea, they would just end up telling you this to support you, right? And once you actually do a MVP, you start you do it on a small scale with whatever Jugadu tech you have or whatever it is, you actually get real feedback, right? Once you actually make a customer pay, someone pay, you actually get real feedback, right? So that's the next step. And when you're doing MVPs, you will face challenges, you will face difficulties, and that's when you got to stay persistent. You got to have that really strong mindset that once you've decided something, you want to sort of make it happen at any cost, right? And that's how you go about with it. In WYLD's journey also, we did at least, with the same WYLD's idea, we did at least 4 to 5 different pivots, right? And we are yet experimenting, learning, trying different things out. So
got it.
Yeah. So I have a question that you said before. We are both Marwadis. So one question is, as like when you started WYLD, so what was your focus? Was it, I want to make money, I want to have that fame, or was it, I want to create a platform where people can connect and themselves become marketeers and start a new concept? Was that the thing, or was it money and all that?
Ashit, so I think if money is your goal, right? Many a times, it's easier to earn money otherwise. As a early stage founder, especially at a young age when you don't have that network and the entire backing around you, right? It gets actually very very tough to work in a startup and stay consistent, right? If money is your only goal and in startups, right, you end up spending years when you don't end up making money, right? So it becomes very tough to sort of continue when that's your only goal. For me, my main motivation has sort of been problem solving, and I really enjoy solving business problems, trying to figure it out, and each day is different, each day is a new problem, and that's very very exciting for me, right? And I think that's what's keeping us going right now.
Yeah, so I think even for people who want to start their companies, because we're going to have audiences and people who want to start their own companies. Yeah, so I think, as you said, one thing which is very important is every day how you motivate yourself should be, I want to solve a new problem, I want to help some more people. So yeah.
So coming back to saying that you set a goal such as problem solving. What do you think a key skills or traits that people need to have that contribute yourself to success, or that contribute? What are some key skills or traits that have contributed to your success in that way or so?
Right.
Just problem solving.
So I think when I had met Harshad, right, a few days ago, I was just telling him the same thing.
Yeah.
That I truly believe that each day you should become a better version of yourself, rather than trying to imitate someone, right? You can't. There was one Steve Jobs, right? There's one Elon Musk. There's one Bill Gates, right? You can't become the next Jeff Bezos or Steve Jobs, right? You got to be the next you. That's when you will create your own company, right? So rather than saying that, hey, there's this particular skill I need to go after this or something like that, you need to identify what you are good at and try and become the best at it in the world, right? And that's when you will create the dent. A company sort of ends up needing all kinds of skill set, right? All the way from leadership, communication, sales, marketing, strategy, business, financial modeling, data engineering, everything possible, right? So you just got to identify what you are really good at, double down on that, and then get a team around you who can sort of support you for the other roles, right? Regardless of whether it's a startup, business, or a job, if you find the thing that you're good at and excel and become the best at it, anywhere you go you'll always find success, right? So that's what I truly believe. So in our company also, we have multiple different, I am good at certain things, Dishant is good at certain things, but all of that being said, I think a couple of things that definitely help and will help everyone is basically communication skills and sales, right? As a founder, you're constantly either selling to your employees, to investors, to the customers, to other people who your partners. You're continuously selling your vision and what you want to do, right? So sales definitely is one of the most important skills in anything that you do.
Got you. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Wait, sorry, am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Hello? Okay. So, Yash, you told us about your journey, and, obviously, to a lot of people who have seen Shark Tank and, who view this podcast as well, they would think, WYLD is probably an overnight success. But with the conversation that we're having right now, you can clearly see it is not. It has taken a lot of hard work and a lot of your time along with your team. And as a person at the top, right, who you lead your team every day, you set goals, small goals, you achieve them, shortly. So I just have a question which basically asks the extent to which your life has changed before WYLD came up, before you came up with WYLD, and before WYLD actually became such a success where, so many people know about it. We see that you have over 50,000 followers on your Instagram and you've come on Shark Tank. So I think that's amazing, right? But I just like to know about your life and how WYLD has changed your life in such a short period of time.
Dude, so it definitely did end up getting some recognition. It makes for very interesting conversations when you're out with friends, family. But other than that, right, in our head, I think, till now, we are yet very early in the journey. It's a investor backed business right now, and until we sort of end up solving the problem, actually generating massive cash flows, etc. Right? I think till then it's just heads down and continuing to work, right? Because when things like Shark Tank happens, it's very easy to sort of get carried away in the fame. But you sort of start enjoying the fame. But if you don't end up actually delivering on your business, it's all going to be short-lived, right? Today it's there, tomorrow it's not there. And there are multiple instances like that, right? There was Clubhouse, which came overnight, became very big, and then overnight it disappeared. So we're very much aware of that, and because of that, right now for us, it's basically all of this is sort of noise, and you just got to keep your heads down and continue making it. And once you've sort of made it, that time you can sort of take a step back and relax. But until then, it's all the hustle is on.
Yeah. For sure. So again, bringing back the topic of Shark Tank, we see that you've had to make a lot of hard decisions. I think that's pretty clear. So now in context to Shark Tank, we saw how, literally every investor on Shark Tank was fighting to invest in your company. And we see that one of them even, was offering to invest before he heard the valuation and the whole pitch completely. So I just like to ask you, it was obviously a difficult decision when you chose Mr. Anupam Mittal, right? So how did you come up with that decision? What were you thinking at that moment, the three of you? And, how do you feel like it was the right decision? That's all.
So before going into the tank, right, we obviously had a preference. We had, so Anupam has invested in multiple startups in our space. He has a massive experience, investing, working with startups, extremely knowledgeable. And we obviously, we had met him in the past also a couple of times and all of that. So there were multiple factors because of which he was our first preference. And, during the tank, obviously, we got multiple offers. Anupam initially wanted to come at a lower valuation and all of that. But later on, when he ended up giving us an offer at a valuation that we were comfortable with, we ended up accepting it. But that being said, right, like everyone on the tank over there is just so highly accomplished. It's sort of choosing either between your mom or your dad, right? It's not an easy call.
Yeah, of course. No, I understand completely.
Yeah, so I have a question. You talked about Anupam and how he invested in stuff, and you told us about choosing the right person before. So my question is, how do you describe your leadership style, and does it overlap with Anupam's, or is it different? Is it radical, assertive, or what kind of leadership do you choose? Because WYLD is a really creative platform, right? So yeah.
So with investors, what happens is that whenever you need a strategic guidance or some important decision making is there, that time these guys you can sort of go out, get their help and all of that, right? But on an everyday basis, it's you sort of who's dealing with your team, who's building the business, right? So strategically, in a vision perspective, you need to be aligned with your partners, but your style of working, etc., is truly your own, right? And the founders make the company whatever it is, and it's just not one person's style of working. It's everyone's style of working which sort of ends up affecting whatever is happening, right? We are someone who like to build, who like to sort of lead by example. So if we are sort of telling our team something, we end up following it first. And for us, everyone in the team is sort of equal, right? Like in terms of a hierarchy, given that we are building something radically different for a younger generation, there could be an intern or someone, the youngest person in the team, who has an idea which could be much more meaningful or impactful than what we are having, because there's obviously an age gap and all of that right now. So in our company, there are three basic fundas that we end up sort of following and believing in, right? So everyone in our team needs to be extremely honest. Right, whether some days you don't feel like working, rather than lying about it, just we ask employees to be open about it, that because we are all humans at the end of the day, right? Rather than saying that, hey, I'm sick, just tell that we don't feel like working, and that's completely all right. We'll understand, right? So that's the kind of culture we have, right? We try and sort of be honest with customers, with our team members and everyone around us. The second thing is respect, right? Like what I was telling you earlier also, like even an intern or someone very senior, junior, everyone's respected equally, right? The tea guy that comes in, the sweeper that comes in, you got to respect everyone, and that's something which is non-negotiable in our company. And third is ownership, that whatever you're doing, it's a small team. If you've picked up something, you sort of ensure that you finish it responsibly. So these are the three things that we sort of end up following in our company.
Yes, so it is very important, right? You have to respect, you have to be honest, and you have to have ownership, as you said. So I think everyone who wants to start their own startup, wants to do their own business, three things, guys: honesty, and you got to have that ownership. You got to respect others. You got to finish where you started. So yeah.
All right, so Yash, I'd like to get a little bit more personal in terms of insights and advice for the younger generation, for our generation, also for the people who are watching, right? I think it's extremely important from a person who's had success like you have had, although you're in the early stages. So starting off, what is your definition of success? I think you're the best person to ask at the moment. So yeah.
Dude, so I have a funny story to share, right? So there was once this guy who was just sitting and chilling besides a small lake, right? And a friend of his comes by and he's like, why are you wasting your time, right? Why are you just idling around? Why don't you work something, earn some money? He's like, what should I do? Like maybe start selling vegetables, fruits and vegetables on or sort of a cart or something like that. And why don't you get started? So he's like, sure, let me do that, right? And once I've done that, what next? So he's like, then open multiple carts, right? And then what next? You open a shop, then earn a lot of money. Then what next, right? And then after that, you chill. So the friend asked him that, what am I doing right now? I'm chilling, right? So usually we end up going through this entire cycle of trying to chase success, trying to achieve the next goal, next milestone, all of that, right? You finish your 10 standard, then your 12, then college, this, that, you get a job. It's just a roller coaster, and one milestone after the other, right? So my simple advice is that just sort of try and be happy in life, be honest with your work, be hardworking, whatever you're doing, try and do it dedicatedly, sincerely, and that's all that matters, right? You'll only be able to connect dots in hindsight. You never know when success actually hits your door, knocks your door. Everyone has their own time, their own journey, right? The KFC founder is well known for starting his business at an extremely old age, right? Like a higher age, and yet he was successful. So there's no one goal or one formula that fits all. So my usual advice to people is just sort of try and be happier and enjoy the journey rather than sort of trying to achieve that one milestone, right?
Okay, so basically take small steps and chase your short-term goals. As long as you're happy, I think it'll all just come to you, right? So I think that's a wonderful message, and based on the message that you've given us right now, I feel like you probably have something in mind based on the legacy you want to leave behind. So could you just elaborate on just give us a message on the legacy you would actually like to leave behind? I think it would be really inspiring for everybody watching, as well as for us talking to you right now.
Dude, so I'm too young to leave behind a legacy to
that's true.
There's a long way to go.
Because a lot of people, they have something in mind that they wanna be a good person. I mean, everybody wants to be a good person.
For me,
but there's always.
For me, the most important thing that what I anyways try doing, right? It's the same message, right? Like I usually end up enjoying my journey, being happy, and as I told you, right, if you end up comparing achievements or goals that this guy has XYZ amount of wealth, this guy has XYZ amount of achievements, it's a never ending life of goals and achievements, right? So I think being happy is not very tough, right? It's just a mindset. Everyone has their own sets of challenges, problems. It's just how you look at it, and what you make out of what life gives you. So my message and the thought I would like to sort of leave behind is exactly this, that just sort of try and stay happy. And there's this quote by Naval Ravikant I like a lot, which is you're just a monkey with a plan, right? Don't take life that seriously.
Yeah. All right. I think that.
So, Bhaiya, you said stuff about being happy about what you do and your rules for business. And so, my question is, a lot of people who have family businesses, right? And as I just say, stuck in a rat race, right? So, my question is, how do people be creative? How do people brainstorm new ideas? What think people should aspire for? I want to help others. What I want to do, and how do they get out of this thing about doing a job? Or I mean, it is everyone's personal opinion. But just asking you, some people, they think I want to start a business. I want to do this. I want to do that, but they're not able to achieve it because they procrastinate and maybe they're too comfortable with it. So my question is, how did you start this business and get out of that comfort zone? I want to do something completely different. I want to make an impact, and I actually want to help people and do something different.
Right. So, lots of questions you did end up asking. So. So basically, Harshit, each one has their own journey, right? I think there was a time when entrepreneurship was really looked down upon, right? Because entrepreneurs were not, especially startup entrepreneurs, were not really making a lot of money. It was a difficult journey and all of that, right? And right now, because of Shark Tank and multiple other things, entrepreneurship has again become very, very fashionable. It's become something that people aspire to and look up to, but it's definitely not an easy journey, right? So many people end up starting and in a few months end up quitting, right? Because it's not an easy journey. So this is something I think Elon Musk, someone had asked a similar question to Elon Musk, that what is the advice that you would give to a aspiring entrepreneur, right? And Elon Musk ended up replying that don't become an entrepreneur, right? Because it's a very tough journey. It's not a cup of tea for everyone, right? It's a very tough journey, and he said that don't become one. But despite of that, right, even if I give you that opinion or that advice today, that Harshit, don't get into the entrepreneurship journey, right? You will most likely end up ignoring my advice, and you would yet go for it, right? Because you have that hunger in you. And that is when you will succeed. So despite of people telling you that you don't get started, it's not an easy journey, etc., when you yet regardless just go out there and do it, that's when it will happen, right? So you need to have that burn, that zeal, that fire, that whatever the world says, you have to sort of end up doing it. That's when you will have some percentage chance of success, right? And that's the kind of mindset you need to have.
Yes, Bhaiya, so one question and then we're going to end this session. So this question is, do you set goals and achieve them, or do you just go on this journey? Because we are the success stories and we track the journeys of successful people like you. So this is, I think, a very important question and personal for me. So do you set those goals, I want to achieve them, and then follow the journey, or do you just go on the journey, experience new things, learn new stuff, and then finally, whatever destination you reach, you're happy with it?
So firstly, I think it's very important for everyone to sort of have goals, because if you're not thinking big, you won't ever achieve them, right? So if you're just thinking small, if you're comfortable in your own circle right now, you won't ever achieve anything big, right? So you got to think really big. You got to think, have a big vision, big plan, big goals, and actually believe in it and hope that you can sort of achieve it, right? So that's about setting goals. So you definitely have to set goals, otherwise you won't ever end up achieving them, right? But if you set goals and you're hoping that you will directly achieve them, no founder has this kind of a straight line journey, right? Everyone has ups and downs, more downs, and a few ups, right? And you just got to keep going through that journey. So that's the reality, right? So although you have goals, you have plans, many a times things don't go as per plan, right? And that time you just got to improvise, think creatively, but just sort of stay persistent and keep going at it, right? And slowly you keep chipping away the rock and you sort of move towards success.
So I've said this, right? When I met you, people ask this question, what if I don't? But the thing they should ask is, what if I do? What if you do achieve it, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think a journey is a series of short-term goals, right? Only if you achieve one short-term goal and climb up the stairs is when you're going to reach your destination. So I think in that way, short-term goals and a journey is pretty interlinked. And I think that's obviously, Yash, you've told us a lot about your journey already, and the way that you have come to the place where you are, right? And we can clearly see that you have had short-term goals and you followed them to achieve to come to this destination. So I think that's wonderful. We'd like to conclude this with one last question from Ken. But yeah.
Going back to what you're talking about, like how entrepreneurship was looked down, and like a while back, and you coming from a business family, did you specifically have any mentors or advisors that really advised the path you took in life right now, or was there anyone that really influenced you to start WYLD or take the entrepreneurial stance, sorts? Yeah.
So my dad's definitely been a big inspiration, right? He's been a businessman, all of that. So with him, I always used to go for meetings since a very young age. So he's definitely been a big influence for me. And apart from that, during college also there were a lot of people who came, spoke to us, gave many sessions, lectures, etc. And so it's just been a series of things. And once WYLD started, there were definitely some angels and some really kind people who have sort of selflessly ended up helping us through this journey, right? And many a times there are a lot of people out there to help you out. You just got to go out there and ask. So we've been very, very fortunate in that sense, and a lot of people have supported us.
All right, so I think that's our last question for this podcast / interview. And as we wrap up this episode of Success Stories podcast, we clearly got an insight on this wonderful conversation with a co-founder of Yash Sakhlecha. It's been a really nice conversation to have with you. Thank you again for coming on our first episode of the Success Stories. And I think by the end of this interview, we've all learned a bit of what should we do if we want to start something like an entrepreneurial company, or what steps should we take, or what direction should we take. So I think thank you for joining us for this episode, and to any audience or listeners out there, we hope that Yash Sakhlecha's stories inspires you to think outside the box and pursue your own innovative dreams. Stay tuned for more success stories and insights from the world of entrepreneurship. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Yash.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.